Welcome to Lipstick Attitude, hosted by Dr. Elizabeth King, psychotherapist, hypnotherapist, author, and motivational speaker, specializing in trauma and women's mental health, and Yvonne Haase, psychotherapist and coach specializing in relationships, couples, and women's issues. This show is your dose of inspiration, information, and laughter. In each episode, Dr. King and Yvonne bring you hacks, tips, and inspiring stories to help you live a successful life. So ladies, grab your lipstick. It's time to do this. The Lipstick Attitude podcast is powered by Stilettos and Lipstick Foundation, a nonprofit movement to empower women and children from all walks of life to be resilient, self-confident, and purposeful leaders through education, mentorship, and community outreach. To learn more, visit sslwomen.org. Please note that this show is intended to empower and educate. It is not meant to be utilized as a substitute for individual therapy.
Well, good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Elizabeth King, and this is the Lipstick Attitude. And my co-host, Yvonne Haase, is right alongside me, and we have a very special guest, Commissioner Dr. Barbara Sharief. So good morning, ladies.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. And I don't know if for the folks that are going to be watching us, not just listening, you're probably going to notice that we're wearing pink today, which is very rare because honestly, I don't love pink on me. I love pink, but I'm not on me. I'm always the red girl. So today I'm clashing with my red lipstick and my pink t-shirt, but it's such a worthy cause. And we wanted to make sure that we honored October for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Ladies, if you haven't done your mammograms, get out there and do them. Make sure you're doing self-exams. Make sure that you are taking well care of yourself. Self-care is so important. Commissioner, you are in this world of healthcare, so I'm sure that you have a lot to add to this as well.
Yes, it is so important that women take the time to do preventative health screenings in the form of mammograms, pap smears, self-examinations on a daily and probably on a weekly basis. I know most people don't do it daily, but I'm a bit of a fanatic in terms of making sure that everything on my body is right, because I'm a doctor of nursing practice. And so it's so important that women touch and feel what's normal. And this is just a really good month to bring awareness to the fact that women need to take care of themselves. We do a lot of caring for others in the form of taking care of our husbands and our kids. And we put everybody else first, and oftentimes we just forget about ourselves. And so if you're watching this is your opportunity to just think about how do you take time every day to take care of yourself, and what that looks like on a yearly basis.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great opportunity to do so. We're also going to talk a little bit about World Mental Health Day, which I think it's so important. That's what Yvonne and I do on a daily basis. It's awesome that we have at least one day to remind folks that your mental health is really the most important part of your health. I believe that, people don't give it enough importance and don't understand that it's okay not to be okay, and it's okay to get out there and ask for help. Yvonne and I are both psychotherapists. We do this on a day-to-day basis. And certainly through COVID, we have seen an influx of more people coming in, needing, to process and talk about what's going on in their world. So it's so important. Yvonne, you want to add a little bit to that?
Yeah, it's interesting. So since COVID, we have just been packed. I mean, people, just really taking the time. I think it made a lot of people realize that there were some things that they weren't handling well, that they really needed to get a handle on, and to improve their lives and improve their communication and relationships and who they are just as a person. So it's been a really busy time. I'm hopeful that means that maybe part of the stigma for mental health and the care of your mental health might be reducing. We're not there yet by any stretch of the imagination, but I think more and more people are becoming aware that it's okay to take care of your mental health the same way you would your physical health.
Yeah, absolutely. Interestingly enough, through COVID and the influx of more people reaching out for mental health, I think that you're absolutely correct, Yvonne, that the stigma has been reduced. I am getting so many different referrals from people saying to their friends, people that they love, I have a therapist. It's okay for you to go out there and get a therapist and talk to someone. I think that if anything good came out of COVID, I think this is one of them. And I'm excited for the future of people talking about mental health as if they were talking about their physical health without shame, and embracing the fact that we're all human beings and that we all need support at one time or another. So happy World Mental Health Day. I think Yvonne said it might have been yesterday, but I think it should be every single day.
Agreed, but we might be biased. Just throwing it out there.
Just throwing it out there. Today's program is going to be so inspiring. The Courage to Lead with Commissioner Dr. Barbara Sharief. I am so excited to hear her story and share her story. Dr. Sharief has been in our lives, and I'm going to have Yvonne share her bio, but I just want to say that on a personal level, I respect you so much for everything that you're doing in our community. And you've been a friend and a supporter of Stilettos and Lipstick Foundation for a very long time. So I am so thrilled and honored to have you here today.
Thank you for having me. It's been such a pleasure and a privilege to be involved with this organization and to get to know you, Dr. Elizabeth, and to get to know you, Dr. Yvonne. I just think that, you all bring such an awareness to our community and for women that we just wouldn't have if you weren't here. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Yvonne, you want to do the honors in sharing her bio?
Broward County Commissioner Dr. Barbara Sharief was born in South Florida and raised in Broward County and is a longtime resident of District 8. Professionally, Commissioner Sharief is an accomplished self-made businesswoman. In 2001, Commissioner Sharief founded South Florida Pediatric Homecare Incorporated, which serves residents of Broward and Miami-Dade Counties and employs over 200 professionals throughout South Florida, and is considered one of the top home health care agencies in Broward and Miami-Dade counties. She has also been honored by Stilettos and Lipstick Foundation, and as you heard, has been a huge supporter of our foundation for many, many years. All right, so let's get right into it. Ready?
Yes.
Okay, so what made you go into nursing and then ultimately open your home health care business?
So I grew up, I had 8 siblings, and one of my younger brothers, he was born with cerebral palsy and hydrocephalus. And back then, that was like a death sentence. They kept telling my mom every year that he wasn't going to make it. And I got real good with going to doctor's appointments and knowing about healthcare, and it piqued my interest. And what I learned over the period of time was that if I carried my brother around and treated him like he was normal, he thought he was normal. And so we didn't need to make him feel like he had a disability, but so it kind of started my thought process in terms of people who had what they call disabilities, treating them like they have special abilities. And so my brother, where he couldn't use his legs, he flew because he was with us on our back and we were running around with him. And where he had hydrocephalus and he needed surgeries, we were pushing him and trying to make him feel as normal as possible. And so I really got into I wanted to know like what made my brother different, what made him that kid that my mom had to be planning a funeral for all the time. And so I started just really getting involved in like wanting to know about healthcare, and that kind of drove my passion for healthcare. And my father kind of pushed that, my mom pushed that and said, you know, if you really like doing this, you should be a doctor or a nurse. And so ultimately, that's why I went into nursing. And then the home healthcare aspect of it came. I was moonlighting. I was working at Jackson Memorial Hospital. I was in the intensive care unit, kids chemotherapy, and then I moved into organ transplantation. And at that time, HIV and AIDS was huge. It was a pandemic, and we had a lot of clinics set up to try to help people who were positive and who needed medication support. And I'm really good at intravenous. I put in IVs, central lines, PICC lines, all of that. And so ended up being set up in a clinic working to take care of HIV and AIDS patients. And from that, a headhunter called me from a home healthcare agency and offered me like twice my salary to leave Jackson, and I did. Gladly. I was working. I was trying to buy a house, and as you know, us nurses, we usually work 2 or 3 jobs to try to do that. And so I found a way that I could purchase my house and earn a living and work less hours. And so I did that, and I got into home health care. And after that, I was hired by a national company, worked for them for about 3.5 years, had my second child. And that job required that I travel the United States to help other agencies. And my baby, Alyssa, was in the intensive care unit, and I decided that I wanted to save my FMLA time and go back to work. So because she was in the hospital and she wasn't coming out because she was preemie. So I go back to work. I'm on my 3rd week postpartum, and I go back to work, and they say, great, she's back at work. We can send her on a plane to wherever. So I get my assignment, and I'm running through the airport. Now, this is real. I have a Medela pumping style on my shoulder. I'm going through TSA, and I'm dragging a suitcase behind me because I had a 2-day trip. And they stopped me at TSA because they thought I had a bomb, but it was a Medela pumping style. So they put this thing through the system, and they's like, what is this? I said, that's a breast pump. And she's like, oh, okay. So she's like, open it up. So I open up the Medela pumping style, and I'm showing her, like, here's the milk compartment. This is the pump.
Oh my goodness.
Here's the pump. And I'm standing up there, and I'm explaining this. And as I'm explaining it, I get through TSA. They give me back my Medela pumping style. I got my suitcase, and I'm running to the gate. And I run to the gate, and as I get there, I stopped. And I had an epiphany. And I thought, why am I flying all over the United States to make these people hundreds of millions of dollars when I could stay home, open up my own agency, and be there with my kids? And I finished my assignment. I came back, and I quit that 6-figure job, and I opened up South Florida Pediatric Homecare, and that was a little over 20 years ago.
Oh my goodness. Wow. What a story. So the breast pump was the impetus. That was the impetus. See, listen, women out there, anything can really be the thing that inspires you to move into the direction that you are meant to. Wow,
it was just funny. Like, I'm just standing there going, God, I mean, like, shouldn't everybody know what this is?
That's funny, because that's what I was thinking. Who doesn't know what a breast pump is?
Apparently TSA didn't.
Exactly.
That's crazy. Thank you for sharing that story.
I love that story.
Yeah, that's awesome. I also wanted to just say something before I ask you another question. But when you shared about your brother, I didn't know that about your life story, but it really speaks to me, because that's exactly what happened in my life. My family, my mom, my single mother was exactly like you were, in that she made me feel like I wasn't disabled ever. I was just inconvenienced was the word that was always used. And so even though I had polio as a child and I've had 36 surgeries, I never knew that I was disabled. I don't think I figured it out until I was in my 40s. So kudos to you for doing that for your brother. I am sure that that was such a positive impact on him. And I'm sure that he was impacted in the way that I was impacted, that you never use your disability as an excuse for not doing what you can do. So thank you for sharing that story as well. It spoke to my heart. So you've been a very busy woman. You're a successful entrepreneur, a businesswoman, community leader. How do you ever, because I've been asked to run for political office and I am like, no, I can't do that. How do you ever say yes to that when you have such a busy life? How and why would you do that?
So, I've been blessed to be able to put the right people in place. Now, over this 20 years of being in business, kissed a lot of frogs to get to my prince. And these ladies that work for me, they're my prince. They make me look incredibly good. And I think it goes back to training and surrounding yourself with people with similar shared interests, right? Because you have to make sure that you have the right people in place to run your business. And so what happened is, as a result of me getting to this synergy with my people that work with me, it freed up a lot of time. I found myself going to work once a week and I was just signing checks, and they would say, "Boss, what are you doing here?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm just coming to work." And they're like, I would sit in my office and I was waiting for people to come by like they used to, and they were gone and they were doing their own thing. And so some of my neighbors, because I'm that PTA mom that everybody, when I walk in the room, they go, "Oh God, she's here." Like I am that vocal person. I'm that one that call you out when you don't do what you're supposed to do, right? So I was doing that in my neighborhood. I was involved in my kids' school. I mean, I was the Wednesday and Friday ice cream lady in the cafeteria. I was working in my kids' class because I just had nothing else to do because my business was running so efficiently. And my neighbor said, "You know what? You're so vocal and you're always advocating for people. You should run for office." And so I said, "What? I'm a nurse. I'm a business owner. Like, where does that fit in?" And they got together, and my neighbors in my community walked and knocked on doors, and I ran for county commission. And the seat that I hold right now is the seat I ran for in 2005 and lost. So I lost this seat to an 18-year incumbent. She spent about $600,000 beating me, and I spent about $69,000. I lost by 1,500 votes. Oh, and my neighbors and I, we were devastated. I was completely devastated because for those type A personality people like me, that are never losing at anything because we work so hard, it was so devastating to have that loss. And I was so disappointed because I knew I was doing it for the right reasons, but it just didn't work out that time. And then I realized something about politics, and that is name recognition is everything. You can have a fantastic platform and you could be doing it for the right reasons, but if people don't know who you are, they're not going to vote for you. And so I learned a valuable lesson that time. And that's how I really got into the political arena. And then after I got in, I just started working on things that I thought were important, and come to find out a lot of other people thought those were important too. And it's just been a 13-year journey that I never expected to be on this long. So, just red light cameras was one of the biggest things. I remember they started putting red light cameras up on every corner. And the Sheriff's Association and all the police officers and the Mark Wendell Foundation, and they were saying, "Oh, these are all for safety." And I said, not for safety if only the lowest income people pay them, and you're using vehicle estimation monitoring devices to figure out which intersections to put them on so you can make the most money. So I figured if it's about safety, it would be on every intersection, not just a few. And so I challenged them. And this went on for probably somewhere around 10 months. And when I started that, I was on an 8-1 vote, and people were voting against me. And so every time I saw I was going to lose, I deferred the item. And so I could try to keep the item alive, because, you know, if you lose, you can't bring it back for 6 months. So I used my deferral powers to defer it after I introduced all the information. And then I had another colleague who got on board, and she deferred it the next time so that we could keep getting votes. And then finally, at the end, when it was like the last time that we could bring the item back, it ended up passing on a 9-0 vote to stop them from patching into Broward County's infrastructure and giving out more tickets.
Wow.
And I just learned very quickly at that point, that was my second year on the commission. And I learned that if I believed in something, and if I knew that it was right, that I shouldn't be afraid to stand by myself and have the courage to stand in that conviction and stop what it is that was going to occur. And I just, from that point on, I found my voice to say, I don't think that's right. I'm not going to vote for that. And I don't care if I'm on a losing side of it. The people in my district didn't put me here to just go along with whatever you're doing. They put me here to be a voice. And so that's why I feel like just being a voice of one is okay. As long as you know that you're advocating for the majority of the people out there and doing what's right, be okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of those cameras, only because I found out they work very well. That's it. That's all I'm going to say about that. Okay. So in your journey, because, you know, people see the end result of everything and things look glamorous and they look beautiful and they look so put together and all of those great things. I know Dr. King and I have experienced a lot of that too, that people think it was obviously just easy. So, but in your journey of building and growing your business, what was the hardest thing that you personally had to deal with?
I would say there was one, which is lack of access to capital. You know, all small businesses go through that. But what I think people lose sight of is they see me now and they think, oh, she doesn't have any of those problems. She never had that problem. Oh, guess what? I had a 780 credit score when I started my business. I walked into a bank. I got a signature loan for $325,000. And that was to start my business off. And lo and behold, after I started it off, everything, furniture bills, office bills, rent, everything was in my personal name, guaranteed by me, along with my business. And so that changed my debt to income ratio. And so what happened is that nice 780 credit score, it was nice, it stayed up there. I was paying my bills, but my debt to income ratio looked really off because I had all these bills that the business was paying that I wasn't responsible for personally on my credit report. And one of the things about entrepreneurship is that people don't understand that in the beginning, in those first 5 or 7 years, they dump everything on your personal credit. And that causes a problem with you getting a business loan. And so I struggled with growing my business because I had lack of access to capital, which most small businesses do. The system is not set up for entrepreneurs to be able to get loans easy. And that's a problem. It's something that I've talked about at length. It's something that I really feel like the SBA needs to change its restrictions and guidelines so that it can change what the lending industry does in general to small business owners and startups. And so that was the biggest hurdle and obstacle I ever had to overcome. And I still have it now. Like, let's see, I'm 20 years in. So 15 years in, I decided to buy a building. I had bought already one, bought my second and my third building. And my company was just growing and I needed to get a bigger office. So I went into a bank and I had, of course, all my financial documents prepared. I had everything they could possibly want, accounts receivables, everything. Went in and I gave it to the banker. The banker says, okay, we'll get back to you. He called me in and he sat me down and he looks at me and says, wow. I said, what is a wow? I was thinking, okay, that's going to be another no, right? He said, I never in 30 years of banking seen a Black female owner with this type of EBITDA. That's expenses before taxes and depreciation. And I said, what do you mean? He said, I've just never seen this before. And he said, this is unbelievable. So I'm sitting there and I'm completely puzzled. So I said, are you saying that in 30 years, you've not seen a Black business owner like me? And I said, that's a problem because that means your expectation for women, Black business owners is very low, because I don't think I'm a Bill Gates or Warren Buffett by any stretch of the imagination. I can budget and balance a checkbook. And I said, okay, well, does that mean I got the loan? And he said, yes. And I told him how what he said to me puzzled me. And I said, well, I want to know exactly how that's going to affect me down the line with this loan. And he said, well, let's just put it this way. You are like a unicorn. And of course, at that point, now I'm really offended. So he says, that's a compliment. I said, you just called me a unicorn. He goes, no. He goes, that means like out of hundreds of thousands of people, like you're one, you're special. So I said, okay. So at that point, I thought, this may not be the bank for me because I'm a little bit too liberal for that. And I think I'm too much of a feminist to have a man telling me I'm a unicorn. And I think women power, you know. So I get up from there and I leave. But in my mind, I'm thinking, well, one, I'm going to another bank, which I did. And I got my building financed and we're in and we're good. But on the other hand, I'm thinking, I have to do something about this, because if I'm a unicorn, that's because I survived what it was that they were throwing at me. And that means that a lot more are not. And so I kind of made it my mission to talk about changing SBA guidelines and, you know, doing that on not just a local level, but on a national level. We need to do that.
That's great. That's so great. I'm listening to you and I'm thinking we need 3 hours with you, honestly. This is just not enough. I feel like I have so many questions to ask you, and I just want to make an open invitation to you anytime you want to come back to the show. You always have so much to share. I know I've heard this before, but I want you to share this with our listeners. When you were young, your family was affected by gun violence. I want you to share with us how it impacted you and your career path. I think that that's such an important story to share.
Sure. So I can talk about this story now. And I know when I say it, people look at me and go, how can you not be bawling, crying? Okay. So let me just say, I believe in God and I believe that he has a purpose for all of us. And I found my purpose. My dad, when I was 14, I was in my 11th grade summer of high school. And I say that because people look at me and go, what, 14? Yes. I was double promoted. I was one of those kids that went from the 3rd grade to the 4th grade to the 5th grade in 1 year, because I was just that advanced in terms of what my educational background was prior to getting into public schools. And my dad went to work in August of 1987 with my 19-year-old sister, and a 15-year-old walked up to him and put a gun to his chest and proceeded to rob him. And he shot him in his heart, in his chest in front of my sister, and he died on the spot there. And what that did is it changed my trajectory of my life. My mother was widowed with 8 kids. And I was supposed to go to medical school. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a pediatrician, and my dad was going to pay for that. And what people don't know is that my dad, he had no more than a 9th grade education, yet he had built a women's clothing business that was so successful, like it didn't even need a store. He had a mobile women clothing business, and we would go to work with him all the time. I was a daddy's girl. And some people used to say, like, my dad would sit down and I would run up under his armpit. I would just jump underneath his arm, and they called me his deodorant because that's how close I was to my dad. And so that morning, when he got ready to leave for work, my sister jumped in front and got in the front seat, and she went to work with him, and she witnessed that. And what I would say is that life became very difficult at that point because my mom had 8 kids. She was a retired elementary school English teacher, and we struggled. I had to work 3 jobs to put myself through nursing school. So I was a part-time key holder at Lane Bryant's. I worked as a waitress for Morrison's Custom Management. And my work study was me sitting at the front desk and letting people in and out of my dormitory all night and all day. And so I did that to get through school. I didn't have food to feed myself. My auntie worked in the church kitchen. And what she did is she had me fill up these little plastic containers every Sunday, and I would put them in the freezer. And that's how I ate going through nursing school.
Wow.
And my story, I guess, is a little bit, non-traditional in the sense that, I had a lot of struggle in the beginning, and then all of a sudden, here I had these openings where I completed nursing school, and I had these opportunities to kind of move up. I continued to go to school, finished off. I got a bachelor's of science, master's of science, advanced practice registered nurse degree, minor in business, and a doctor of nursing practice. So I have no lack of education there, but it changed the path of my life tremendously to have my father lost in relation to gun violence. But it also gave me a different perspective as I handled gun violence as the mayor of Broward County. And it really gave me more determination to make sure that I go and change things. And I was working very diligently with the Obama administration and TSA to try to change some of the rules when the airport shooting occurred. And one of the things that both of you ladies should know, since you're in mental health, is that most of these gun mass shootings have a mental health component to them, whether it be a history of violence, domestic violence, or whether it be psychiatric conditions. And so we have to do better with that. And the young man who killed my father at 15 had a rap sheet that looked like a Webster's dictionary. And he was arrested for all kinds of stuff, domestic violence, battery, assault. So we as a community need to really do better with that.
Wow.
And, as you shared that story, you not only not lack a bunch of education and degrees, but you don't lack drive, woman. I can't believe how much you have done. Oh my goodness. Just in awe of you every time I speak to you.
Oh, thank you.
So now that you're terming out from Broward County Commission District 8 seat in November, where you've been since 2010, and you were also mayor twice. Obviously, you were bored in all your free time, kind of thing.
While she was getting her doctorate.
While she's getting a doctorate,
yeah.
We want to know what your future plans are, because if you're just going to be sitting on the beach eating bonbons, we're going to join you. Right? But where do you go from here?
So where I go from here, all of what I've done in my life, I feel like it's kind of converged into what I want to do for my future. And that is, I want to be in Congress. I want to run for Congress. I am running for Congress. Actually, the election is like 3 weeks away. What am I talking about?
Yeah, I was going to say,
God.
You are running for Congress. Yes.
I am running for Congress. I am actually almost there. November the 2nd is the election, and we are in full swing. And, I just think it has been an awesome opportunity that has been presented to me to run for Congress. Like I said, being elected statewide to represent, I'm the first and only African-American female that has ever been elected to the Florida Association of Counties in its 80-something year history. Wow. First and only. And I served that all 67 counties. I was elected by Republicans and Democrats. And I did that on a national level. I went to National Association of Counties. I sat for 9 years on a bipartisan health steering committee, which is where I used the majority of my nursing background and business background, trying to help to fix the Affordable Care Act and decrease prescription drug costs. And then, of course, I was advocating for common sense gun laws with TSA when the Obama administration was in. And now, in my spare time, I chair the opioid lawsuit task force here in Broward County. And we're going to be getting some money. That one's coming to an end. So hopefully before I'm out, we'll see that money come in. And I sit on the 16 County Coalition Water Resource Board and the Metropolitan Planning Organization for 13 years. And so these are all things that kind of converged and were very synergistic with running for Congress and what President Biden had put forth. And I just feel like it just put me in such a great position to really win and represent my district. And so we'll see what happens on November the 2nd, but I'm feeling pretty positive.
Well, best of luck to you.
Yeah. And on top of that, you co-authored a book recently too, right?
Oh, yes. I forgot about that.
Oh, minor detail. Just a book. An author on top of everything else.
This is called No Glory Without a Story, but it's called Insomnia, really. Hold on, let me get it right.
Insomnia. Yes. That's the outcome. That's the outcome.
Oh, we get it.
Had it completely.
But yeah, this book I co-authored, and it just talks about starting a business. My chapter is from vision to victory. And my chapter just really tells people about my struggle, because I think that when somebody sees a successful business, they really don't know all of what you've gone through to get there. And they tend to minimize the struggle. And so I just wanted to bring some reality to an entrepreneur's struggle. And so I wanted people to know that nothing was easy starting out. It's not easy right now. And that I think you should manage your expectations of yourself and what your first year, second year, third year looks like, and just really focus on building on each year. And as you focus on building each year, then before you know it, you turn around and you're 5 years in and you say, wait a minute, I survived my first 5 years. And profits come, you have to be dedicated. I'm doing something I love. I love caring for people. But, just always remember, if you're going to start a business, do something that you love so you make it fun, even when there's tough times.
That's awesome. What great advice. As a single mom and an entrepreneur and a politician, you've been in the public eye for so long. What would you tell women that are out there listening to this podcast and or seeing us right now? What would you say to them? Because a lot of women don't see their own potential. What would you advise them? What would you give them as a takeaway message?
Oh my goodness. So I'm known on the campaign trail for telling people to wake up. Okay, women, we outvote men 3-1 in every election. I am not sure why there's not more women elected to office, but I do say this to women. When you're out there and you're juggling all these things that you think are important, you've got your kids stuff that you think are important, you've got your husband stuff that you think are important, and you got your work stuff, and you've got buckets of stuff, but you never make one for yourself. And so what I tell them is, one, I live by the planner. I know we have iPhones. I know we have technology, but I make sure I write it in my planner. I make sure I block off time for myself. For those of you out there who are listening, it is Friday. Don't call me on Friday. I am going to be on a massage table face down, getting some much needed therapy and some mental health support. Okay. I think women don't do that for themselves. We don't carve out time for ourselves. And we don't know how to say no and smile. Come on, let's do it together. No.
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 No. Let's do it, Yvonne. No.
Yes, no. We don't know how to say no. And I learned a long time ago that I need to say no to some things. And so that's, as a single mom, you know, even my kids, I had to learn to say no. My daughter called me this morning like, last night saying, Mom, I'm going to need to do some laundry. And my washer my dryer is not working. And I was like, and when do you plan on doing that? And she said, I'm going to come over. I said, well, you can come over and do that whenever you want, but don't expect for me to be here because I've got other things to do. And I think that when we're talking about all these things that come at us as women and entrepreneurs, you know, you're juggling payroll. Payroll is very stressful. Please do not fool yourself into thinking that paying a couple hundred people every other week is not stressful. I mean, when that payroll comes around, that's like a mortgage, okay? And, you know, so I think you have these added stressful touch points as an entrepreneur. I had them as a single mother. Thank God I've got my 23-year-old and my 20-year-old just graduated from UCF. They're now down here trying to pursue medical degrees. They're trying to go to medical school. My 14-year-old decided that she wants to be an engineer. She said a couple of weeks ago, she came to me and said, Mom, I don't want you to be mad at me. And I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I don't want to do anything in medicine. And I said, Haley, that's fantastic. You don't have to do anything in medicine, just as long as you get off my checkbook. You just remember, let them do whatever it is they want to do that makes them happy. As long as you don't have to keep writing those checks for them to live, that's okay.
Amen.
I love it.
And that's kind of been my motto. So in my house, I learned how to say no. I learned how to juggle. I keep everything on a schedule, and I make sure I take time for myself. You're no good to anybody unless you take care of yourself. You can't be good to yourself. You can't be good to your kids, or your husband, or your business. So self-care is important.
I love that message, and one that we're always talking about and trying to live it ourselves. I mean, Yvonne and I were just talking about it even before we jumped on this Zoom call. You know, how are we carving out time? And what I hear from that message is boundaries, setting boundaries with your kids, with your loved ones, with your business, and making sure that that you are on the top of the list. Because without you, you really have nothing, right? So yeah. I love that. I love this question. We ask our guests, all of our guests, this question because part of what the Lipstick Attitude is showing women how is it that we are living to our full potential, our purpose. And so I want to know, what do you want your legacy to be after all said and done?
You know, it's funny. Somebody asked me that, and I said, my legacy, I want it to be that people knew that I worked for my community, that I tried to help as many people as I possibly could, and that I built on my father's legacy, which my father, he had a food bank program, and he was working on stopping hunger, and he believed in rehabilitating people from the criminal justice system. So he oftentimes would hire people who had come out of prison, and he would train them and help them work. My legacy, I started, or I've been doing Go Orange in Broward County, which is a building up our feeding stock for people who are food insecure through Feeding South Florida. And also stopping homelessness and allowing people to achieve the American dream, which is first-time home ownership. I want my legacy to be that I didn't just hold public office, but I reached back and I brought a community forward with me as I went on this journey of public office and being a public servant. And I want my children to know that as a woman, as a businesswoman, as a nurse, that I used every tool in my arsenal to help as many people as I possibly could. And I want them to give back in that way because I think it's a blessing. And so my legacy has to be that I helped my community as best as I could with my representation and my presence on this county commission and in any public office I've held.
Well, you are living your legacy right now in full force. So thank you, Commissioner. You are an absolute delight and light in our community. I love this time with you, and I know that we are going to spend more time together. Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely.
Sure.
It's been my pleasure.
We also understand that you have a giveaway for our listeners. What is your giveaway?
Well, for your 2 listeners who call in, I am going to give away 2 signed copies of my book dedicated to them, and hopefully some very willing entrepreneurs get this book and read it. There's some great stories in here, and it's no glory without a story. And I will sign them and get them to you. And hopefully we can get people to start reading them and building businesses, because that's what we are about.
Does
awesome.
Yvonne, do you and I count for the giveaway? I'm ready to sign up for that.
Why? Do you need some information on starting a new business?
Yes.
Because watch this. No.
I'll send 4.
Not happening.
No,
I'm sending 4.
Oh, 4. No. Yay, thank you.
Yay.
Thank you.
And I'll include this in the show notes as well so everybody can reach it. But where can our listeners find you to stay connected with you?
Okay, so if they like to connect, they can go to barbarasharif.com. That's BARBARASHARIEF.com. Or you can dial 954-357-7008. And that's directly to my office. And then the book is being sold on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And I think Books A Million as well. They all had different rollout dates, but you'll find them on all 3 eventually.
Awesome. And if they wanted to connect with you to find out more about your platform, since you are running for congressional office, how could they do that?
So they can contact me at 954-743-9240. That's 954-743-9240. Or just barbarasharifforcongress.com. That's my first and last name, forcongress.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was so awesome to have you on our show. And again, you have an open door anytime you would like to come back. I would love to have you back. You're awesome. You're amazing. Oh. And we're ready now. Everybody whip out your lipstick. This is the Lipstick Attitude. And this is our war paint. So ladies, let's go ahead and put it on. This is our war paint. This is a reminder that we can do it, that we have the courage to lead like Commissioner Dr. Sharief, that we can get out there and live our purpose, that no matter what circumstances are in our lives right now, we can overcome and we can do what we were meant to do on this earth. So don't let anybody, including yourself, tell you otherwise. Keep out there doing your thing. Thank you for being part of this journey. Thank you for listening and supporting our mission of empowering women and children. Commissioner, you're awesome. Thank you so much for your support throughout the years, and best of luck to you on your on your election. I hope that everything goes exactly the way it's supposed to be.
I think it will. I think it will.
Amen to that.
Amen. And remember, everyone, if you like what you heard and want to support this podcast and our future programs, please text SSL Women to 44321. SSL Women to 44321. And you can find out how to connect and donate right there.
Also, please go to sslwomen.org. That is our website. We are getting ready to kick off our toy drive. It is the 20th annual John and Elizabeth's Toy Drive and fundraiser, and we hope to be collecting toys for thousands of children in this area. So if you would like to donate or participate, sslwomen.org. Thank you again for listening, and we hope to see you and hear from you on our next episode. Awesome. All done. Good job.
It's still recording.
Oh, it did. It said stop.
It says recording still though.
Oh, that's weird. I'm hitting stop 10,000 times. It's not stopping. We may have to end the call and come back in because I don't know why it won't stop. Yvonne, you'll have to edit this part out. It's not stopping. Hold on, one more. Hold on a second. Try this. No, not stopping.